Hello and welcome today. I am Calahn de la Luna with the Blackthorne School, and I have a very exciting guest here with me today. And I am so excited to hear all about Jessica Grote. And that was my very butchered English attempt at her last name, but we have Jessica here from Theion Publishing. Hi, Jessica. Thanks so much for joining us today.
First, it's a pleasure to be here. Nice of you to have me.
Yeah, and we have some very exciting news we've been concocting together, don't we? Do you want to tell them?
Exactly. Yes, I'm gonna give a class with the Blackthorne School now, starting late November 29th.
Yes.
Yeah, my own practice and path within the cosmic current, and that's called Modern Hetaera, Paganism, Eros, and Magic. And I'm really excited about it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so thrilled. And I'm thrilled about this course for so many reasons. I think it's very different than anything we've offered in the past. And I think it will also be an excellent fit for many of our students who have especially pursued, Greek and PGM currents. But it sounds like it's a course that really just about anybody could jump in and learn something great from it.
Yeah, I hope so, definitely.
Yeah. So I am jumping ahead about wanting to hear all about the course. We will get to that. But first, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself, as well as your practice and your background in the occult? Mm-hmm. What currents inform your practice these days, and which ones do you have past experience with?
Mm-hmm, of course, okay. Yeah, my last name, the pronunciation, it's German. I'm from Germany. I'm living in Germany, in Munich, and I have a university degree in religious studies and English language and literature. And as you already said, I work as a publisher of occult books, as co-owner of Theion Publishing, together with David Beth. And that's my profane life, so to say. And my background is also connected to David, whom I just mentioned, who's the founder of the Cosmic Gnosis, or the Cosmic Phenomena Current. And I'm initiate in groups there. That is the Ecclesia Gnostica Eterna, which is a sacramental body working within this cosmic gnosis, and also the Société Voodoo Gnostique, which has a relation to traditional African voodoo and esoteric voodoo in particular, but all embedded in this cosmic gnosis and this world experience that we share. And this is where I have been active in the last 15 years, even a bit more, and still am. So this is my main current and practice. And I have been interested in a lot of religions, mythology, belief systems. That's also why I studied religious studies, I said, and also magical practices, tarot, divination, pendulum, witchcraft, so very many topics that I always was interested in from childhood on already. And then in my teenage years, I tried out a little bit of Wicca, and I looked a little bit into Thelema. So the typical things I think.
Right. Yeah, I think most of us have that initial dabbling in Wicca or deep dive into Wicca, depending who you are. And,
right.
Yeah, it sounds like you have
never was really the thing for me. It never fit. There was always something that was not really right, because the practices, the ideas, some things were good with me, but it didn't fit the whole thing. There was a missing link there. The puzzle was not complete, and that was when I met David. So basically how he did things, and he has his own roots in Western occultism and spiritual systems, and how he explained and related things, and still does it, is for me was like that put it into the context that I needed, and that was like, okay, yeah, that fits with how I see and experience the world. And so that was, yeah, that was basically my thing. And yeah, now I'm in this current and trying to find much more expression of my own understandings also. So developed this path. I'd say this approach within the system of the Hetaera, which I see rather as a holistic approach, especially more for women, but it's open to everyone right now. So visualize this world experience I have, this understanding of magic and how everything relates together, and especially integrate also eroticism and sexuality, at least
Yeah,
kind of topics. And yeah, also
juicy
maybe
stuff right there. Yeah.
exactly in the one or other group I'm working with. So rather have something where everybody can take something from, and if it's only inspiration or some elements, some practice. Yeah.
Absolutely. And oh wow, you've touched on so many juicy things I want to talk about. But I wanted to comment. I think David, and he's the one that you co-own Theion Publishing with, correct?
Mhm.
And he really gave you this profound gift. You, up until that point, your spirituality felt like it was missing something, and he really pulled things together in a way that really made something click. And I think that a lot of us who have been on this path for a while can usually relate back to one person in particular that maybe gave us exactly what we needed at the time and really helped us fully dive into the way we needed to work in this
I think
current.
it's also necessary at one point to have someone to actually show you options and possibilities and maybe even push you a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
actually try and dare to do this. So.
And for anyone out there watching who may be thinking, oh, I feel like I'm the person that's missing something. I really wish someone would do that for me. Well, I will tell you, I mean, based on my experience with Jessica and all of our instructors, I handpick our instructors because I do feel they have that level of wisdom to impart to students, and they have a very profound and thriving spiritual practice that people just can't help but it's kind of infectious. It really gets us excited, it inspires us, and it really helps bring things together in a way that is very, very difficult for someone to do on their own.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's good to have somebody to, even if it's just another way of thinking or another way of doing something, or even putting things together that you might not have put together on your own, right?
Absolutely. So you play an important role in Theion Publishing. For those unfamiliar with your work, can you tell us just a little bit about the sorts of books that you publish, and how did you get started in the world of occult publishing, and what makes that important work for you?
Mm-hmm, sure. Yeah, Theion, we've been doing this now for a decade actually, and this was something that David came up with, the idea of publishing our books on our own, our own books and books that have been influential on us and everything. And it expanded from there. So by now we have quite a range of titles available, but we always also here handpick and choose. So we're very much about, it has to be the right fit with us, and it has to be the right content, especially. So we do not publish everything we get. We really make sure, okay, this is something we want to publish, and then we take our time with it also and make sure that we put the best into it, regarding editing and improving, working with the authors to make it best it can be in our perspective. And I happen to get the opportunity to train a little bit in desktop publishing software, image editing, and these kind of things, you know, typography, graphic design. But that was just a short training. So I took this as an opportunity to start, and then it was still a steep learning curve. I think people really underestimate what goes into one book, you know, it's a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And yeah, so we basically try to publish books that we think add something to the occult environment and scene, like philosophical texts also, but also practical books, like a good balance of research and practice, and books that enable people to add something to their own practice, and to maybe give them something new, and to give access to certain texts, and to provide a platform for new authors also, and established authors depending. And yeah, we want to keep books as a powerful object also. I think, you know, like the craft of doing fine editions, of doing wonderful books, and not just, you know, a quick publication that you can utilize. This has a, but I think it's much more the environment to keep books as a magical object alive, you know, to have them as a vessel of magical content, and so people appreciate it really, and that's what the fine editions are about.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what I think important also about it, you know, to keep it alive, to keep it this magical vessel of magical knowledge alive in its own. Give it a kind of reason to have books still around.
absolutely, and just so beautifully and intentionally creating this beautiful work of art, this living, embodied at times work of art, you know, as a magical vessel and as this beautiful piece of art. I mean, what a profound gift you give to the world in that way.
I hope so. But many people appreciate it really. Yeah, that's definitely the case, and I'm very thankful for that. You know, that there are so many people who are still really much treating books with the respect they deserve, and this way also the knowledge inside it, I think, and that's important.
And I will say, as someone who is currently writing at least 3 books right now, I can't write just one at a time. It has to be 3.
No.
But I mean, and as someone who is wondering which route to go with publishing and all that, once I get a little bit more finished in the particular book I have in mind, I mean, it's hard for authors, to trust their baby to someone else. And I think there's a lot of potential for publishers in the occult community to really handle things in a more ethical and compassionate and mutually supportive, symbiotic way with authors. So I think that's a gift you can give too.
Yes. I think that's also necessary. You have to establish this relationship with your authors. That's important to just have the mutual trust in what is being said, how you're working with it, how you're changing. I mean, in the end, you have to change some things usually. Nobody writes the perfect book, so that's just not happening. And so
and as someone who's done a lot of publishing, as someone who's done a lot of publishing, you kind of know what sells, what makes the book more cohesive and presentable and easily organized. So I'm sure your suggestions only make it better. And I can see how authors might struggle to change their work, but
yes, of course,
it's definitely a collaborative process from what I've heard.
Yeah, has to be.
Yeah. Oh, that's so exciting. I could I would love to, maybe eventually we'll do another interview where I can just talk your ear off about that alone.
Give writing tips.
Yeah. So shifting gears, can you tell me a bit about your course and what drew you to offer it through the Blackthorne School?
Of course. Yeah, I'm gonna teach the course more as a foundational class to present this concept that I said, like the Modern Hetaera, which is like then to become an embodiment of the cosmic pagan Hetaera lifestyle, which I see as a fusion of your occult magical work and your profane mundane life. So I think that it's very important to fuse these things and not just keep the one apart from the other as a kind of, hobby. And
yeah, for anyone that doesn't know what a Hetaera is, can you just
yeah,
briefly describe
okay.
that? Because I know some people might not be familiar with it.
Sure. No, the ancient Hetaera, like this comes from Greece, from ancient Greece, and that's been, you could say, a better prostitute, like an expensive one, but that's up for discussion as well. They have been compared to courtesans. They have been very influential on art and mentioned in drama and comedy, especially in Greece. Also part of the symposia, we all know about this, and they have also been very influential in some reception in the 19th and 20th century, also in the occult communities. And I'm going to talk about this in the course, of course, touch upon these developments and the topic of the Hetaera, but then also move towards how I see this, because I'm not reestablishing ancient Heterism, or I'm not trying to be a prostitute. So
Yeah.
that's not what this is about. I mean, you could maybe have some comparison if you want to go into the Scarlet Woman of Thelema and these ideas, so you have a certain relation there, but also to make sure that there's a distinction in these approaches. And that's basically what will also touch upon, but especially it's kind of an introduction also into this cosmic world experience that I mentioned several times already. So we will cover things like body work and dream work, ancestor veneration. So very, very different topics that one would think, okay, what does this have to do with it, But that's exactly what I mean by fusing your life and fusing magic and everything together to connect these areas, because that's what I think is essentially important. And it all comes back down then to erotic relations and connections, which are not necessarily sexual, right?
Yes.
That's basically the focus of it.
And I just want to recap for all of you listening here. I mean, oh my gosh, this course is it's going to be phenomenal, but in only 8 weeks, you're covering some very high level techniques. Even though this course is labeled as kind of a foundational course, it's not beginner material necessarily. I mean, you're covering dream work, you're covering ancestral practices, you're covering erotic practices and magic. I mean, those are 3 topics that are really hard to find good information on, and you are delivering it. I mean, thank you.
You're welcome. I hope it will suffice. No, I think the foundational part is just meant to be foundational for this ideas that I have, the concept I'm working with and the Hetaera, to make this more accessible and to have it especially also develop that people who take this class will have no trouble then working in more advanced environments.
It's the point of entry for these advanced techniques, right? And hopefully you will come back and keep offering more to build on it. I hope.
The plan. I mean, I think that's to come back to the other part of the question, right? The Blackthorne School. I got into, aware of it because, of course, one of our authors is already teaching with you. Then some friends of mine.
Reverend Zemi teaches our Speak Talk course.
Exactly. So that was already like the range of topics, the instructors who are already part of it, and the idea behind. So I see that this like has a lot of overlap with my own understanding of what I want to achieve and the people I want to reach. I think the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think any of our instructors would tell you we have this profound base of students who are very skilled practitioners usually. Not, I mean, some people do start out more with us, but we have brilliant students. I mean, brilliant, dedicated. A lot of our students could probably in their own right teach their own course on stuff, you know. It's our groups usually have very high level discussions, and most students that I talk to say, oh my gosh, I loved the Facebook group for your course. I met some really good friends that I continue to stay in touch with years after the course. And I mean, that is a profound, profound gift in and of itself, is finding like-minded community.
Yeah, exactly.
And having meaningful and safe interactions on Facebook, because we're very protective of our groups and we want everyone to feel like they have a safe space sharing, no matter what level they are with the material. And I think, you know, Facebook kind of brings up a lot for a lot of us, but I think, you know, the groups with our school are private, only the students in the course, and we're very protective and want to create a safe container. So it's this beautiful place where people can open up and share without worrying too much, and can meet some really lovely practitioners.
Yeah, that's great. And it's optional. I mean, that's also important.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has to and needs to feel obliged to do it. But if you want to, and of course, I would always recommend it. But you know, everybody it needs their own options and how
Yeah,
and that's the good thing about it. You don't have to. You do you know you don't you're not necessarily obliged to engage.
absolutely. We will be uploading all of the course materials on our website that you can access. You know, once you buy the course, you have an account on there through your email that you use to buy the course, and you can just access the course materials there if you don't want to be part of the Facebook group for any reason. No questions asked, but we do find that community group component is very helpful in the learning experience for a lot of people, but it's not mandatory for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So what would be the ideal student for your course? Is there any type of occult experience that those interested in your course would need to have in order to enroll?
No, they would not need to have a certain kind of experience or background. I'd say, okay, we already said, I think you should have at least some practical knowledge, some understanding, because I do not want to explain everything. It might also be confusing if you don't have it. But at the same time, I think the most important, so also if you are a total beginner, that's also fine. You know, I would never want to turn anybody down. That's totally fine with me. And I think the most important is that you're curious about it, that you're open, that you have rather a positive attitude towards sexuality, towards the physical being. Let's put like that.
Yeah,
I think that's very
sex
important.
positive views,
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And to be self-reflective or at least open to it, you know, to also maybe find things out about yourself. I think that's important, and that you're not like set in your ways. If you're already like very, very certain who you are, how you are, what's good for you, what's not, what you want to do, then maybe, you know, that might not be the best. But everything else, if you feel the urge or just a little bit of interest, then you're welcome.
Yeah, sounds like just about anyone who wants to be there can come to the table. And, you know, if anyone is unsure about whether it's the right fit, we really encourage you to reach out to us. Just send us a message and we can talk it through to make sure it's the right fit, or make a suggestion for maybe some more foundational work before taking it. So we we're very dedicated to helping people even determine if a course is the right fit as well.
Exactly. I mean, if you just have a little bit of question about it, or you're not really certain, we'll figure it out. I mean, I'm also not somebody who would say, okay, everybody has to take it. Of course not. I think it's important that you have a certain joy in it and interest, and so it has to work out. If you're a little bit not so certain about what it might be, or whether it fits with your personality or your practice or what you're doing. I mean, I will definitely also offer to give personal consultations for people if they are, want to implement things in their practice and are not really sure about how to do this. Then of course we will figure this out during the class too. So
yeah. So what makes this particular path meaningful and effective for you to the point that you're offering it to students, where you said, oh, I really want to invest all this time and effort in creating this course? And what sort of person tends to do well with this type of work?
I think the person who tends to do well with it, that's what we just already covered in a bit, people who are just open to it and are able to self-reflect also and to engage, and maybe also, are open for different perspectives. And then also people who are not set on psychological understanding of magic, let's put it like that. I think if you are convinced that everything is just mental or just in your mind, then maybe not. So I rather tend towards people who have a different approach towards things. But I think there is something in it for a lot of people. As we already said, it's very different topics, so there will certainly be something that is inspiring, interesting, helpful for almost all of the people, at least from what the Blackthorne School is offering also, like the audience you have already. I think that's like the perfect match. And I think it has the potential to change, I don't want to say your life, but in a way, your perspective and your experience of also maybe the practice that you're already doing. I think that it can help you to deepen your experience and your experience of living, your experience of engaging also in a set the things you're doing already. So you do not necessarily have to take everything on and over that I offer, but you can, I think, if you engage with it, if you allow it to happen, you can take a lot out of it for yourself and what you're doing.
Absolutely. And I would say many of our students at the school will frequently report to me, oh my gosh, this course changed my life. And I have no doubt that your course, Jessica, will also have similar reports. I mean, I think we are providing this high level of quality of information that you can't really just find in a book. And then the way we are imparting it is a very embodied practice, which we don't get a lot of in our world of screens and all, phones and screens and computers. Like there's work, we just get further and further away from embodied work. And I think one of the beautiful things about your course in particular is it really comes back to this embodiment of one's practice, which is absolutely profound, healing, and life-changing for sure.
Yeah, also I think in the way of the roles and functions that are already there, like looking at the occult community in itself as it is right now. And I think that I'm trying to find something, or hope that other people will experience it like that, because for me it is like that. So but to have something that is a more balanced way for women to also have not just the extremes that I find embodied in many other groups and currents that are there, where it's either the one is like extremely sex positive, like even only focused on that. The other is like totally going away from anything physical. So I rather think, I want to have something that connects these things. I like to also I like the functions, the roles of women in ritual, also the work of men and women together, and all of these things, like this whole idea and approach towards these ideas about men, women, gender, body, sex, that's I think is like very important to find a new way of understanding this in some way, or maybe not new, but different a little bit, and not so set in the ways, because I have the feeling these days that the occult community is getting more and more judgmental itself again, which is a little bit weird when we think about where it started.
Right? Yeah. Also, I know a number of our students might identify as non-binary. What do you have? Can you say just a tiny bit to that about whether they would feel comfortable or not in the course?
Certainly. As I said, I mean, while I tend to approach this more as a women's topic or women's function or role, and of course I identify as woman. I'm a woman biologically and in any other way, so I'm like that's just me. So I will of course come from this point of experience of life, so I cannot share in any other experience. I do not know how it is, but I'm totally open to anybody, and especially of giving me feedback with that. I would be interested to hear how to approach it. I try to consider all perspectives. That's why this is also, of course, designed to be also accessible for men. It's not exclusive. It's not limited to women. It's not limited to any gender. I think you might not, or you should not necessarily be asexual. I mean, that might be a little bit difficult.
Due to the focus on the eroticism, it might not be as palatable to someone who's asexual. Yeah. That's good to know.
You can still try it out. You can still try it out.
Give me everyone's welcome if they feel drawn to it. But we want to be honest about, this is an important focus in the course. Yeah. We touched a little bit on it before, but do you have any more to say on what are some common misconceptions people have about this way of working in the Hetaera?
I think, I mean, in one way, I also like to find that out, actually, because I talk to people who are already very close to my work. So I don't hear so much about these misconceptions. So I can just imagine two very common ones, I think, that I will mention. But so if anybody has, as we said before, any questions or concerns about it, then please get in touch. Don't keep it for yourself, and don't think that, okay, because of that I'm not gonna do this. Rather let us know and we figure it out. But what I think might be very common is, on the one hand, to think that you have to know anything about the cosmic gnosis or the current I'm working in, and that's not the case. You do not have to convert. You do not have to become a part of that. You do not have to follow it. Even you do not have to have any knowledge prior to the class. What is necessary, what I will implement from my perspective and my background in this, I will share with you, and as much as it's necessary, and that's just a part of it, but you do not have to know anything about it, and you can also live happily without going very deep into this, I think. And the other point would be that it's not all about sex, even though we mentioned it now, and it's a part of it. But as we already touched upon the topics, you can see it in the syllabus that is published on the enrollment page. Then it's just a part of the class. So it's sex positive, but you do not have to be crazy about it, right?
Yeah. And I wanted to just circle back. You mentioned, the Hetaera and ancient Greece. I wanted to touch on this idea that when we hear, oh, they were maybe considered something like a prostitute. Well, we have a lot of cultural baggage and programming around even that word, around sex work. But back in ancient Greece, we have to remind ourselves it was an entirely different culture, a different worldview. Sexual and erotic acts were part of religious experience back then, and even going to a variety of temples in a variety of different religions, one could often access priests or priestesses who did work with someone sexually. And so I think, when we hear those words, sometimes people's knee-jerk response is, oh gosh, well, I don't want anything to do with that. But they really lose the nuance of that different worldview. And then I also wanted to just comment on, I think this is a beautiful opportunity for people to really do some personal deprogramming of, and really open your worldview up to one that is more conducive to your practice of magic, regardless of your current, but to, this embodied nature of the work is something that is profoundly personally empowering in one's practice. And I can't say enough about how important embodied practices like this are. So if that resonates with you, then I would say go full steam ahead with this course. And I would highly recommend that people do some sort of embodied practice. And again, your own limits. You get to say whether you do or don't want to do or try something. And the erotic part is no different, to any other part, where we always recommend that people stand in their own sovereignty and do what they are wanting and needing. So that's that. I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. And does that sound accurate to you,
very,
Jessica?
very, very, very important. Exactly. You told also what it is about. This is the point about this Hetaera and how they have been received also later on. It's much more, it's not about the prostitute part, it's about being in this other area, because you didn't have much choice as a woman in ancient Greece. If you became a wife, you were basically in your household, you had a certain specific role, basically childbearing. You were confined to the house except for certain rituals, religious functions, or the like. So to become a Hetaera was actually something that was also an option, I think, in some ways. And I do not want to romanticize it. That's also part of the topic that has been done. I don't think that's necessarily what we have to do, especially as said, I'm not focused on re-establishing the ancient ways of doing things or something like that. But I think the idea of being self-determined, a little bit independent, because the exchange, of course, they received something from their lovers or clients, as you might want to call it, but that was, of course, a way of service for service, and that was not necessary. So that's also important. But Hetaera was a companion, and that's the translation of the word. And I think that's something where we can take a lot of for our own approach towards this. And then it becomes much more interesting also if you understand, as I said before, erotic relations, not only as sexual relations.
Yeah. Oh, what a yummy topic.
In the class.
I can't wait to hear what you have to say about that in your course. Yeah. So I would like your advice on two different situations.
Okay.
Do you have any words of wisdom, advice, or encouragement to offer both budding occult authors thinking about publishing their first book, and also people who are learning this path connected with your course. Maybe they feel a little bit overwhelmed or stuck and are wondering if it's right for them. What would you say to encourage them?
Oh, both of them, dare it, right? Try it out and push yourself. But seriously, to the writers, I think it's important to write about something that you really love and to be open to criticism. As we said before, I mean, of course, it's your baby and you put something in it, but you to make it really good, you will have to change things, and so you have to know this, and maybe also find somebody whom you trust to read it through, but not necessarily a friend who will just say, "Oh, it's great," But someone you trust will give you honest feedback. I think that's
Maybe
also
maybe do yourself a favor and hire a good editor. Yeah.
yeah, all that. But I mean, if you find the right publisher, you don't. They have them. So that's definitely, yeah. Also, before maybe have somebody tell you whether your writing is good. I mean, let's be really honest here. Some people just cannot write, and I'm sorry to do if I have to say this, but it's just like the reality of it, and that's what I mean. Be open to some criticism, because then you can also improve it. I mean, everybody can express themselves in some way and then improve it with the help of somebody who's a bit more um, proficient and editing.
Absolutely. Someone who knows the ropes, someone who lives, breathes, and eats books.
Exactly.
Metaphorically speaking.
And the students, it's basically, as I said, exactly, try it out, but and get in touch. I mean, we said this now several times. If you are not sure about it, then contact us, contact me. It's totally fine. And rather speak with us, right, about it,
Yeah.
about concerns, and then we'll see and figure it out.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Do you feel there is anything else that's important to share or for people to know about your course and what makes it the best course out there for people to learn this practice?
Yeah, the best, of course, because it's the only.
It's the only one.
I think it actually is something. I mean, I'm not gonna teach just a different form of doing something that people are already doing. It's not I don't know, next class on tarot or the pendulum or something like that, specific practice. It is something that will connect a few practices, several exercises, a lot of things from different areas, as I said before already. So it will also be something that turns into an effective approach of magical erotic living, so to say, right? To connect and combine those areas into one. That's also why I like this Hetaera as a concept, because the Hetaera is not originally a religious role, but they served also in the temple of Aphrodite at sometimes, or in some ritual function, apparently. They are, first of all, profane people, like women, and but connected to a certain lifestyle and connected to certain topics. And this, I think, is very important for the whole approach. For me, it is about making it live, or a kind of a way of living, so to say, and not too separate and just do, okay, I'm going about my work, and then maybe I do a little bit of magical practice, and that's it. But it has to interact with each other. It has to be interdependent, and also influence the relations you have, be it with other human beings around you, be it with, I don't know, spiritual entities, whatever your path is, your practice, this, I think, like the world around you. This is something that I think very important, and it's a focus, certainly, like this relationship.
Yeah. It sounds like it is really embodying one's practice as a way of life versus something you do a few times a week or, something like that.
Exactly. I mean, I definitely want to make it accessible for busy people too. I mean, I'm a very busy woman. You are, we know
Oh my
all
gosh, yes.
that, right? So it's not about having to sacrifice a lot of hours every day now. I want to make this accessible and practical, and so that's also why I said, okay, you can take maybe this and that part out of it, this element, that element, but the overall idea would be to put everything together, to also have your busyness fit into it, and your life and your normal work, and have this kind of everything being fused into one life. Yeah.
Yes. How does my practice inform my walk through this world? Whatever I do, I carry my practice with me. I am my practice.
Exactly. This kind of approach and attitude, I think it's there in many people, or in their minds, they would like that, but at the same time then are not really certain how to do this and how to get there, and I think that's part of it too.
Absolutely. I mean, if that isn't juicy, I don't know what is. I want to hear all about that. Well, thank you so much, Jessica. We are thrilled to have you offering this course through us. And I am even more excited after talking with you today. And I hope that everyone who is tuning in will also be very excited, because I think it is going to be a really once in a lifetime experience for people. I think this is really profound material. So I can't wait to see what you have up your sleeve.
I'm excited. I hope so. I'm really looking forward to engage with people about this and to see what everybody's coming up with. So I really want this to be also interactive, So as I said, nobody is obliged to engage and do everything, but it would be really, really lovely.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much. And to anyone interested in the course, we will have a link in the description here with this video. Thank you for tuning in. Take care.